I feel like there's a lot of talk in the baseball world about award robberies. We use the smallest of differences in two players' performances to rip credit from one man's hands and assign it to another's. But I think the modern fan's brain redirects to one race in particular. 8 years ago, Boston's ace Rick Porcello claimed the American League Cy Young Award in a highly controversial race over an esteemed group of running mates, most notably Justin Verlander, who nearly doubled the amount of first place votes that Porcello received. But with the league leading 22 wins, some of the best control in the league, a monster inning total, a lengthy streak of quality starts, and getting his team back into the playoffs, Porcello was able to sneak away with the award after never once receiving a vote in his career prior to that year. It's a choice that is still discussed even today and defines much of Porcello's legacy as a big leaguer.
I'm upset! Louder! I'm upset!
Today I come to tell you that, despite my belief that Verlander was the rightful winner, this end result is not that bad, and there are plenty of other award chases to point your finger at. That's right, folks, I don't think Rick Porcello was a bad Cy Young winner. I think we're all just being a little bit too mean. Nearly a decade after anyone even cares about this anymore, I'm here to make a case for 2016 Rick Porcello. At the start of his career, Rick Porcello was the anchor to a very successful Detroit pitching staff. Led by Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, Porcello was also accompanied by David Price, Robbie Ray, Anibal Sanchez, and Drew Smyly at various points in time. This group combined for 9 Cy Young Award wins and 8 World Series rings, but much of that success would come for teams that weren't the Tigers. After 5 years in Detroit, the Tigers traded Porcello to Boston in exchange for Yoenis Cespedes, who was probably the greatest player in Red Sox history that no one ever remembers playing for the Boston Red Sox. They immediately signed him to a 4-year extension worth $80 million, which certainly raised some eyebrows considering his career resume to that point. A massive factor in this contract was his most recent season. He was fresh off a career year in 2014, where he eclipsed 200 innings for the first time, led MLB in complete game shutouts, and sported one of the best walk rates in baseball, 6th overall among pitchers with at least 200 innings. But it was hardly a match made in heaven from the outset. Porcello struggled mightily in his first season with the Red Sox in 2015, pitching to an ERA of 5.81 at the end of July. Immediately after surrendering 10 hits in 2 innings in his worst performance of the season, he was sidelined for a month of games with a triceps injury, the first and only injured list stint of his entire career. Rick Porcello was an absolute beacon of health, making at least 27 starts every season from 2009 to 2019. He's one of just 3 pitchers in this window to accomplish this alongside Max Scherzer and John Lester. However, this might have provided a much-needed reset for the sinker baller, who returned in late August and finished the season strong with a 3.14 ERA in his final 8 starts. His numbers on his first season at Fenway Park remained mediocre overall despite a strong finish, but a big indicator for future success was Porcello's spike in punchouts. He averaged 7.8 strikeouts per 9 in 2015, a career high, and a 2 strikeout improvement from his successful final year with Detroit. His newfound comfort with throwing his 4-seam fastball up in the zone was a significant reason for this, which complemented his sinking fastball that he could locate masterfully at the bottom of the zone. It also certainly helped to have Gold Glove caliber outfielders like Jackie Bradley Jr. and Mookie Betts behind him, making it easier to challenge hitters and surrender more fly balls. This was a craft that Porcello would master in his upcoming 2016 season. With new free agent signing David Price coming into the fold for the Red Sox, Rick Porcello was looked at as more of a middle-of-the-rotation guy rather than an ace headed into the new season. Things didn't look pretty at first when Rick Porcello finished spring training that year with an ERA above 9, but he opened the season in strong fashion with 5 straight starts of at least 6 innings, recording the win in each start, and finishing April with a 2.76 ERA and a whip below 1. A noticeable change from year to year was Rick Porcello's grimed-up hat.
What the fuck? Is this allowed? What the fuck? Is that allowed?
Which probably would raise some eyebrows in the current state of the game, but this was back in 2016. Things were like the Wild West out there. It was in the second half where Porcello truly built his case for a Cy Young Award. Not only was he the most valuable pitcher in baseball from the beginning of July to the end of the season, but he also led all qualified pitchers in walk rate by a healthy margin. On top of that, he was second overall in walks and hits per innings pitched, trailing only Justin Verlander by .01. He finished the second half with the 5th best ERA in baseball at 2.63. From his last start of July to the middle of September, Rick Porcello completed at least 7 innings pitched in 11 straight starts, with 2 complete games along the way, one of them being a Maddox against the Baltimore Orioles. Only one other pitcher, Sandy Alcantara, has been able to accomplish this feat in the near decade since Porcello's 2016 campaign. In the last 15 years, it's only been done 13 times. However, what ended up becoming the most important part of his season was the performance of his team alongside him, as Boston's potent offense defense propelled them to a 14-3 record in Porcello's starts from July onward, helping supply him with 13 pitcher wins, bringing his season total to an MLB-leading 22 wins. Say what you will about wins, but only a dozen pitchers this century have won this many games in a season, and no one has won more games in a season since Porcello accomplished this. 8 years ago, this mattered a whole lot more than it does these days. With that closed the 2016 season and a disappointing playoff exit for the Boston Red Sox. Then came the end-of-season voting controversy. Despite having only 8 first-place votes to Justin Verlander's 14, Rick Porcello somehow walked away with the Cy Young Award in his hands thanks to having the overwhelming majority of second-place votes. And Justin Verlander's wife, Kate Upton, transcribed the thoughts of many when we found out the news.
Are you ever going to get big on the social media front?
I don't know.
The key in the voting here was 2 separate Tampa Bay writers inexplicably failing to include Verlander on their entire ballot. And though a 4th or 5th place vote would not have changed the end result, it's virtually impossible to argue against Verlander's case for it being a top 3 pitcher in the American League at minimum. And one of the writers didn't do that much in-person journalism apparently either, because Chris Archer was pitching there for 4 years already, and he said that he had never even seen the guy before.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out.
A case could have been made for Cleveland's ace Corey Kluber, who finished with a similar workload and ERA, but soared above Porcello's strikeout total. A case also could have been made for Zach Britton, the closer for the Baltimore Orioles, who gave up 4 earned runs in the entire season in one of the greatest relief pitching seasons in baseball history. But in the end, Rick Porcello became the first pitcher in the American League to win the award despite not having the most first-place votes. He received 8 out of 30 total, which was the 3rd fewest for a Cy Young winner ever, and the final tally of 137 to 132 is the 3rd closest race ever, and the narrowest margin of victory in a race since Tim Lincecum topped Chris Carpenter by 6 points in 2009. But close race or not, Rick Porcello was the winner. A big contributor to this newfound success was likely his partnership with pitching coach Carl Willis, who pitched for 11 years in MLB and guided 5 different pitchers to a Cy Young Award as a coach for 3 different teams. Suffice to say, Rick Porcello shared in our surprise at the end result, but that didn't stop him and his family from soaking in a surreal moment. The guy pitched a full season, devoured innings, challenged hitters, set a plethora of career highs, and helped guide his team back to the postseason. He had a terrific year, and it's time we make a case to defend the legitimacy of Rick Porcello's 2016 season by looking at it in a larger scope. A quick interruption on today's video to thank today's sponsor, which is Under 510. They make modern basics for shorter dudes, including t-shirts, shorts, joggers, jeans, and much more. Rick Porcello can't wear any of these clothes because he's 6'5", but I can, and maybe you can too. Some of their newest items include super soft joggers, ultra stretchy casual pants, and long sleeve t-shirts. Head to shop.under510.com/jolly right now for $10 off your order. They have a wonderful catalog, so check it out by clicking the link down below. Place your order today, and I promise you're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. Okay, sure. Rick Porcello did lead the league in wins, and this surely induced some eye rolls when some voters used it as the main reason to hand over the award to him. But it's not like the guy didn't deserve some recognition for a stellar season. He also finished 2nd overall in total quality starts at 26, one of just 8 pitchers to do so since 2016. A big reason for Porcello being able to go deep into games came from his low pitch counts, which of course meant that he was attacking the strike zone with great efficiency. It was harder to draw a walk against Porcello than basically any other pitcher in baseball in 2016. He finished with the 2nd best walk rate, trailing only Josh Tomlin of the Cleveland Indians, and he had a better strikeout to walk rate than any other pitcher in MLB that season. Not only was he efficient, he was fun to watch. Porcello thrived in his Cy Young season thanks to great control, issuing just 32 walks in 33 starts total. In the last 10 years, only 14 pitchers can say that they've made more games started than walks issued in a full season. The ageless Bartolo Colon did so 3 times in this window. This helped Porcello keep hitters off the base paths, which meant his whip was nearly below 1 on the full season. In the last 50 years of MLB play, there are only 16 different pitchers to accomplish a season with metrics these low in at least 200 innings pitched, a list that includes Greg Maddux and Pedro Martinez. Porcello had a lethal combination of eating up innings, keeping runs from scoring, and striking out far more batters than walks issued. In 2016, he became one of just 19 pitchers this century to pitch a season with over 200 innings, an ERA that was 40% better than league average, and at least 5 strikeouts per 1 walk issued, a stat that he led the league in. This type of season hasn't even been accomplished in the 2020s yet, and the list actually shrinks down to a dozen unique names when we raise the inning qualifier to 220 220 innings pitched, showcasing the seismic workload that Porcello took on in that impressive 2016 season. It might have not seemed like a landmark innings total to reach in 2016, being that 6 different pitchers reached that number, but since 2016, there have been only 3 other pitcher seasons to reach the 220 inning mark. One last thing here. Many people instantly point to the large discrepancy in wins above replacement between Porcello and Verlander as the main crux of their argument. It's valid, there's nearly a 3-win swing in their value. Now bear with me because I am going to ignore the ever-reliable adage of using whatever WAR benefits your argument the most, because there is a reason for this. It largely comes down to team defense. Given the defense and the opponent, Baseball Reference gave Justin Verlander a runs allowed per 9 average of 5.03, while giving Rick Porcello a more favorable 4.39. This stat measures what an average pitcher would do against the same batters with the same defense in the same parks. So Porcello's wins above replacement graded out lower than Verlander's considering that difficulty, even though Porcello did pitch in a much more hitter-friendly ballpark at Fenway compared to Justin Verlander's pitcher-friendly Comerica Park. Whether or not this influences your opinion on their head-to-head matchup, I thought it should be pointed out. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Justin Verlander didn't deserve to win the Cy Young that year. All I'm trying to say is that I think we, as a baseball community, have been too hard on Rick Porcello, who pitched one of the better seasons in the past decade of baseball. You can certainly point to the following years of Porcello's career, which were mediocre, and use that as ammunition for why his Cy Young win is quote-unquote fraudulent. In 2017, he led the league in hits and home runs allowed in a terrible season, and his career would be over by age 31. Meanwhile, Justin Verlander added 2 more Cy Young awards to his mantle following this year, and at age 41, he's still going strong for the Houston Astros. But for a moment, imagine if Porcello didn't win and finished second like many expected him to. Think about how you'd remark about his season. You'd probably remember how good he was that year. You'd think of him alongside Chen-Ming Wang, Dontrell Willis, Mark Mulder, and other oddball runner-up finishes in Cy Young history. Baseball is a weird sport that induces weird fandom reactions sometimes, but no matter what we all think, that award will always be hanging up somewhere in Rick Porcello's house, and he should be proud of it. I think he earned it. But that'll do it for this video, and I'll see you guys next time.